Hey guys, Eclipse14 here, and welcome to my Game Boy Advance collection. So now I have 21 games here, a little different compared to the last time I recorded this, and a couple things have changed as a result, so I'm kind of excited to show the differences now. I'm gonna go by each of these one at a time fairly quickly, and yeah, let's just go ahead and get started. Game number one is Bookworm. This is actually a pretty rare game for what it is. This is the only copy I've seen in the wild, but it really isn't that expensive either. It's like 10 bucks maybe. What it is basically it's a word puzzle game where you're basically just trying to put letters together to make words, and that's about it. It's really all I remember about the game because I didn't play it a huge amount, but I kept it with me because I knew it was not an easy game to find, and I just found it out of the wild and bought it for 2 bucks. That's about all I got to say about it. Game number two is Bubble Bobble Old and New. Now, this game is a recreation of the original Bubble Bobble that came on the NES. I think it was an arcade game as well, but I can't remember from the top of my head. I just know it was on the NES. Old is exactly how it looks on the NES. New is just a graphics update for the Game Boy Advance. So it really is just a recreation of the original Bubble Bobble. There's some sticker residue on the back of this cartridge, but that's about it. Overall, not too much to comment on this game because it is a recreation for the Game Boy Advance, and to be frank, it had been a while since I even touched the game at all. Game number three is Sonic Battle. Now, I completed this game about 2 or 3 years ago and had a lot of fun actually going through it. Just the whole battle system style seemed pretty interesting, and the story was actually pretty neat too. So, yeah, not too much to comment about that past that. There's some writing on the back of the cartridge, but that's really it. I've been wanting to find this one complete because I don't see this game very often. So if you can find this game, I recommend taking a look at it because it's a really neat Sonic game for what it is. Game number four is Zoid's Legacy. I don't have too many memories of this game, unfortunately. I think it's like a mechanical role-playing game, kind of like Front Mission, I think. Again, I don't remember it because I played it for, I think, half an hour, and that was about it. I know the game is kind of pricey though, about $30 to $35 for a cartridge. Well, not as super pricey as some of these others coming up, but it's a game that maintained its value for a while, and I don't really see it too much. I'm not familiar with the Zoid series at all, but it looks pretty interesting, and I really think I should give it a try. I might do so in the next couple months, though. Game number five is Super Robot Tyson Original Generation. Super Robot Wars, this is. Can you focus? Thank you. I don't have too much to comment on this one. I think I played one stage and that was it. Never really put in too much time into this game. Although I know what it is. It's a strategy RPG. And once again, there is some sticker residue back there. Unfortunate. I've seen copies of this game run about $35 to $40, so it is a little up there in price, but again, not too many memories on this one, and I had been interested in Super Robot Tyson for a while. This one, I don't know why I never really fully gave it a shot. So maybe when I'm done with some of the other games I'm playing around, this might come up as a top concern for completion. Game number six is Golden Sun: The Lost Age. I played this one a good chunk, but never really tried to finish it because I'm mostly trying to look for the first Golden Sun to start the whole story. And that actually remains a very top pick for me because this is the second game which continued after the first game, and I only played through a good chunk of this because I didn't really know much better. So it's been sitting with me just hoping it can get its brother in the first game just so I can complete the whole story because this definitely seems interesting and would like to play the entire story as is. So that's why I haven't really finished it, is primarily because I wanted to get the first game. And hopefully I will do that this year. Game number seven is Fire Emblem The Sacred Stones, which is my only Fire Emblem game, primarily because the Fire Emblem games are expensive as can be. Holy crap. This is actually one of the cheaper ones in the entire series, and even then the cartridge has been regularly around 50 bucks for a while, and completes are running about 120. So, at least I have one Fire Emblem game, so I am familiar with what the series is like. And speaking of this game, I also have right here the Nintendo Power Player's Guide for this game. In pretty good shape. The box there kind of sucks though, but overall looks pretty good. Used this to play through a good chunk of the game, but unfortunately I never finished it. So, yeah, that kind of sucks. Eventually I will do it, but it's not that high on my priority list at the moment. Game number 8 is The Legend of Zelda: The Minish Cap. This game was pretty interesting, but I've only managed to play through a little bit of this game, unfortunately. Not a grand amount, because I got stuck after the first dungeon and just never went back. This game has gotten pretty pricey though, which is pretty unreal. I've seen the cartridge be around $80 to $85. Completes are running over 200, and yikes, it's just absolutely outrageous. So I'm glad I actually managed to get this game because it had been in my interest for a while. I finally picked it up, and for some reason just kind of fell short when I finally got it and just never finished it. So out of all the Zelda games, I think this is the one I want to finish the most out of everybody I've got. Game number 9 is Metroid Zero Mission. This is a remake of the original Metroid on NES, and this was actually given to me as a gift, along with a Game Boy Advance SP that I had taken with me. Basically, my cousin had it, and I brought it with me on the trip, and he pretty much just said, "You can have it," because I don't use it anymore. So I got that and the game that came with it, which was this game. And nowadays, this cartridge seems to be pushing over $100, which is pretty outrageous. Seen completes apparently are about 250 to 300, which is just outrageous for this game. I didn't think a Metroid game would become so expensive, but apparently it does. As for the game itself, I only played a little bit of it and never really finished it, so that's a bit unfortunate, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to finish it anytime soon with the other priorities I've got. Game number 10 is Metroid Fusion. Yeah, the label's a little faded on this one, but what can be done? This one's likely the same thing. I actually picked this up for just $2, and I've kept it with me ever since. A cartridge seems to be running about $75 to $80 now, which is, again, pretty ridiculous. And once again, I've only played a good little bit of it, but I never did enough to really make a serious attempt at finishing the game, so not too much to comment here, unfortunately. Game number 11 is Ice 9. This game sucks. I'm not even kidding when I say that. It's a first person shooter, but the playstyle just seems really rough. There was actually supposed to be a PS2 version of this game, but it got canceled and never came to fruition, so this is the only version that exists. For a while, I never ever saw this copy. Even online, very few copies were around, and then suddenly I found one in the wild just through the glimpse of my eye and immediately picked it up. Nowadays, this cartridge runs about $70, and again, not very common to find in the wild. So if you do manage to get it, it's mostly for collector purposes only because the game really isn't that great, to be honest. I mean, if you want to play through it, I guess you can suffer. Game number 11 is a boxed copy of Sonic Advance. We're going to start doing box stuff now. This box is pretty bloated on pretty much all corners, apart from the flap. So, yeah, it's a bit worn, but other than that, not too much to comment on the box. Let's go ahead and open the contents. Alright, sweet. Here's the cartridge, which is very nice and clean. And, yeah, very nice and clean overall. Now, I have completed this game and used a lot of time on this one, pretty much just to abuse the Tiny Chow Garden, just so I could beat Sonic Adventure 2 Battle 100%. This is the instruction booklet, which is pretty much immaculate. That is very, very good looking indeed. Then you got the precautions booklet, as well as a Nintendo Power insert. A complete copy of this generally runs around 60 to 65, maybe 70. And, yeah, I've had a lot of fun with this one, but it was mostly used for Tiny Chow Garden abuse, and that was about it. Game number 13 is The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past and Four Swords. This is the only player's choice game I owned in my entire collection, and the reason it still stays is because the box is in excellent condition, save for that little mark on the bottom that's causing that, and a couple cuts right here and around. Overall, the shape looks amazing, and the corners are not that worn at all, which is incredible. Let's go ahead and open it up. Okay then. Here's the cartridge, which for some reason really looks kind of ugly. Like, yikes. If I can even get it to focus, it definitely does not look pretty good. Yeah, look at that. What the heck? Shouldn't it be like gold as the box? I don't know. But anyway, that's how it looks. The manual is in pretty good shape with a couple pinches right there, and that's really it. Everything else looks pretty good. There's the precautions booklet. There is the Nintendo Power insert, a Game Boy player insert, and finally a Nintendo DS Lite insert. So, yeah, pretty neat stuff. I haven't actually played this game all that much, considering I've beat the crap out of the Super Nintendo version more than enough times, and this is basically a remake of it on the Game Boy Advance. A complete copy of the Player's Choice Edition runs about $60-$65. If it was a standard model, it'd probably be around $80 to $85. So, a little unfortunate that's the Player's Choice Edition, but if I can find one that's a regular release, that would personally be pretty awesome. Game number 14 is Tales of Fantasia. I got this as my Christmas gift for 2020. And as you can see, the corner is a bit busted up there. This is a little worn up. But other than that, the rest of the box actually looks pretty good. Definitely nice looking overall. Let's go ahead and open it up. Alright then. Here's the cartridge. I haven't put too much time into this game. I actually tried it for a little bit and just haven't really put in a serious effort to finish the game. Then again, I've only had it for pretty much a year, so plenty of time to keep going with it. Instruction booklet. Got a bit of waving on the front, but everything else kind of looks fine. Got yourself the precautions booklet once again. Nintendo Power. And finally, the Game Boy player and Advance SP insert. So yeah, not a bad purchase here, honestly. I just haven't really finished the game. Complete copy of this is going about $80 to $85, so that's something, I guess. Game number 15, Final Fantasy 1 and 2 Dawn of Souls. The front's a little splotchy, but it's doable. The bottom has a tiny bit of bloating, but other than that, it's a good-looking box overall. Let's go ahead and open it up. Alright then. There's the cartridge, which looks pretty good. Now, this one I mostly played for Final Fantasy 2. It was my first introduction to that version. As for the first game, I'd already beaten it enough times on the NES, but I mostly played it just to do the special dungeons where all the new content was added. Here's the manual, which is in good shape, apart from a little bend in the very back there, but that's about the only flaw for this book. Precautions booklet as per usual, the Nintendo Power insert, and finally the Game Boy player and the Game Boy Advance Lite insert. About to say DS Lite insert, whoops. Complete copy of this is generally about $50. It's usually the cheapest Final Fantasy game on the Game Boy Advance, but it's still a very fun game, and definitely worthwhile if you have the chance to play it. It's definitely worth it for Final Fantasy 2 if you've never been able to play it, however. Game number 16 is Final Fantasy IV Advance. This one's kind of rough in terms of a box. You can kind of see the indents on some of the spots up front. Bottom's a little bloated, but the rest of the box looks pretty used overall. Definitely a rougher box than most of my other Game Boy Advance games, but certainly better than Sonic Advance. I'm going to go ahead and open it up. Alright, that's covered. Here's the cartridge, which is in pretty good shape. Never actually fully finished the game, so that kind of stinks. I got most of my knowledge of Final Fantasy IV through the DS copy, and that's about it. If you can focus, that'd be awesome. There we go. See, it looks much better. Yeah, camera has focus problems. They all do. There's the booklet, which is in really good shape for what it is, overall. Standard precautions booklet, the Game Boy player and Game Boy Advance SP insert, and the Nintendo Power insert promoting the guide. As well as this interesting thing featuring 1 and 2 Dawn of Souls and Tales of Fantasia. So that's pretty cool. Now, speaking of that player's guide, right on the left here, I actually have the Final Fantasy IV Advanced Player's Guide, which looks really good. One of my better looking ones overall. There's a little wear up top and a little nick that was up in the front page, but overall, it's a really, really clean looking copy. So a complete copy of Final Fantasy IV Advance is about $60 to $65. I think the guide itself's like $25 to $30, so a complete total of $100 is probably pretty reasonable in this case, because I got everything, including the guide, and that's pretty rare when it comes to my collection, so it's nice to have it all. Game number 17 is Final Fantasy V Advance. This game is unfortunately cartridge only, sadly, but very top concern for complete in box at this point, considering that that's about $125 to $130, and the cartridge now is running about 60 to 65. There is a good reason why I'm actually going for that, and that's actually coming up next. And other than that, I have played a good chunk of this game because I had some knowledge of it from playing Final Fantasy Anthology on PlayStation, and then I got to play it a little bit more on Final Fantasy V Advance. So I never did finish it, would like to do so later on, and right now, top concern is just getting that sucker complete in box, because coming up next is the reason. Game number 18 is Final Fantasy VI Advance. Yes, I have it in a plastic case, primarily because the box is in really, really good shape, with very few flaws, period. This game was actually just cartridge only last year, and I managed to get the thing complete in box in October of last year. So I fully upgraded it, and that's pretty awesome. Let's go ahead and open it up. Okay then, here's the cartridge, which looks pretty good. Now, I've only played a little bit of this cartridge, so not too much can really be said in this case. Just focus. Yeah, relatively clean, just a few scratches on the top left, and that's about it. Definitely want to play this later on, but I had my focus on 5 Advanced for now, although 6 is said to be very, very good, and I know it's good. Anyway, here's the instruction manual, which has a little laving in the bottom left corner, but otherwise is pretty good. This is my only boxed copy that doesn't have any inserts. It's just game box and manual, which I kind of expect for a game that has been pretty expensive for a while. A complete copy of this thing is running about $150 to $160. The cartridge itself is running about $80 to $85, and has always been pretty difficult because it was a very late release game. So I'm glad to say I got that. And now you know why I want Final Fantasy V Advance complete. Because 1 and 2, 4, and 6 are now all complete in box. 5's the odd man out. He's got to be right there with them. Game number 19 is Tactics Ogre the Knight of Lotus. This box is in pretty fair shape. I think the top's pretty rough. No, not really, actually. Not a whole lot of wear overall, although there is an older rental sticker that's right there. But that's really the only issue with this box. Let's go ahead and open the sucker up. Sweet. Here's the cartridge, which is in good shape. I'm actually currently playing this game right now. I've gotten through a very good chunk of the game, and I'm not sure how far I am away from finishing the game, but I am trying to do as much as I can, so I'm certainly taking my time with this game and having quite a lot of fun with it. Alongside the instruction manual, which is in very good shape as it is. Looks pretty nice overall. The precautions booklet as per usual. A Nintendo Power Advance insert. And one of the coolest things of all, the Atlas registration card. That's awesome. I don't really see that often, and I got it all. Complete copy of this generally runs around $125 to $130. I think if it's in really good shape, it may push to $150. So it's definitely put up its price a little bit, but it's still a really good game if you can manage to pick it up for a decent price. Unfortunately, cartridge itself is running around $75 to $80, so that depends on how much you're willing to really go for it. Game number 20 is Bucktai Sun is in Your Hand. This box is in very, very good shape, apart from some corner wear, a little side wear, and on the top. It is an excellent looking copy overall. That is exactly why it's in a plastic case. I'm going to go ahead and actually open it up for contents now. So this one is an extreme oddity in the fact that this is the only copy of any game I've ever even seen where the Game Boy game is actually still retaining its original plastic. And that's what Bucktai is. So let me pull it out. And there is the cartridge itself. As you can see, it looks very, very nice. A little scratch on the top right, but oh, more scratches. Oh well. As you can see, that is the solar sensor up there that actually makes the game mechanics run. That's what makes this game so unique. So yeah, really cool stuff here. I'm not going to put it in plastic for time reasons. The manual is in excellent shape overall. And it just looks really, really good. apart from a little marker on there, obviously. The precautions booklet as per usual, and a Nintendo Power insert. Very excellent copy indeed. I've only played it for a little bit because I don't really play in the sunlight because we get a lot of overcast skies where I live. And regardless, a complete copy of this has been pretty pricey for a while. I saw it go over $200 a couple months ago. Now it seems to dip a little bit to around $175, $180. But I'm pretty sure it may still hit 200 if the copy is still really clean, pretty much like mine is. So it's definitely really, really become expensive. So if you can find it for cheap, grab it. And the final game, number 21, goes to Bucktai Sun Boy Django. Holy crap, this is actually the only copy of this game I've ever seen in the wild, and by sheer stroke of luck I managed to find it complete. The only real issue with this box is that somebody tried to open the bottom. So there's duct tape there. Well, not duct tape, standard tape, but you get the point. The rest of the box, apart from a little nick on the top right there, is in pretty good shape. Let's go ahead and open it up for contents. Okay then. Here's the cartridge, which I'm going to try to focus in right now. Come on. Come on. Okay. Yeah, this is a legitimate cartridge, and there is some scratches on the label, but not much else otherwise. The solar sensor itself looks pretty good, and it does work. I put in a couple minutes to make sure it worked, and pretty much had been sitting on it ever since. The manual is in very good shape, apart from a very, very little tiny nick right up there. And a little wear on the bottom left, but what do you expect? Other than that, looks very, very excellent overall. The precautions booklet has a little bit of dog earring, but you kind of expect that for it's Christ, they're everywhere. And then a Nintendo Power insert. This game is, no question, my most expensive related handheld game, in the sense of the cartridge itself runs about $135 to $140. If the cards are played right, one of those cartridges is as worth as a complete version of the first Bucktai that I just showed earlier. A complete copy of the entire game generally is about $250 to $275. It's pretty ridiculous considering they used to be pretty much on par with each other, and then this one pretty much just exploded. So I'm lucky I managed to find it complete in box on my first try, and I haven't seen the game since then. I've seen 3 other Bucktai cartridges. So it is a very difficult game to find in my eyes, and if you manage to find it, consider yourself lucky. And that marks the end of my Game Boy Advance collection. So yeah, quite a bit has changed, and I'm pretty happy with the collection overall. So next up will be the Nintendo DS collection, which is probably going to be a sub 10-minute episode because I got one new edition, but that still increases it to just 4 games there. So that'll be a pretty quick episode, and then I'll move on to 3DS, and then I'm done with the Nintendo consoles. So I'm going to go ahead and cover them right now. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.